The Jesus Trilogy, Book 1, The Four Messiahs, Chapter 26. Well, there it is, good old Tashkent. A mighty fine city, world famous, and right on the old Silk Road, Ching Lin said. Yes, many a bolt of silk has passed through those streets, Nahor said, and also a lot of Indian spices. How many did you sell down there? Nahor asked. What? How many bolts of silk did you sell down there? Nahor asked again. About 3/4 of my load. We'll reload in the morning, Nahor said. And you? Ching asked. I sold nearly all my spices. I'll pack even more tomorrow. Hope I can get some of that lilac perfume. Yes, that is great. How do you call it? Tough? Ching said. Stuff, Nahor corrected. Well, my honorable friend, onward to Tashkent. The sun had just set in the western sky, and the red glow from the thin clouds was especially brilliant. As they came closer to the city, the lights grew brighter. Look up there, Nahor. Ching Lin was pointing eastward. You can already see it. It's the first star of the night, Nahor said, turning to look eastward to where the Chinaman was still pointing. It's shining bright even before Sirius. The brightest star in the sky is even visible, Ching declared. Amazing, Nahor said. You know, I think it's getting brighter each night. What's the date today, Nahor? December 7, Nahor answered. When did we first see the star? Ching questioned. I'll check my diary, but I think it was November 25. We were looking up at the early morning sky just as we left Tashkent 2 weeks ago, Nahor said. Yes, yes, I remember. What do you suppose it means? Ching Lin asked. If it keeps getting brighter, we may soon find out. Whoa, Nan, Nahor called out to his camel. Nan was short for Ferdinand. What's your business, sir? The gateman asked. He took Nahor's passport and looked at it carefully in the dim light. I'm a spice vendor, sir. Go ahead, the gateman said, motioning the guard to open the gate. And you, sir? I trade in silk, Ching Lin replied. Long way from home, aren't you? The gateman said. I am that, sir. You gentlemen are a little late, you know. Gates close at dusk to all but the military. My apologies, sir, Ching Lin said, bowing. The gatekeeper hated the ancient Chinese custom and thus disdained the Chinese in general. May God reward your kindness, sir, Ching bowed obsequiously. You may proceed, the gatekeeper said, disgust in his voice. The only reward I'll get is the loss of my job for being a nice guy, he muttered to himself as the two men led their camels down the dimly lit street. They passed the market, now quiet. They knew it would be teeming in the morning when they went to load up for the trip west to Damascus. How are you, my friend? They had arrived at Marco's place. He was an old codger who lived in Tashkent and had run a rooming house for nearly 50 of his 70 years. He was spry and still one of the wittiest guys in the city. Did you get your camel secured? Marco asked. Yes, thank you, Nahor said as he signed in. Bill is in 20, so you can have your usual 21, Marco said, examining the register. Thanks, you're a good man, Marco, Nahor said. Oh, Abdullah might have a visitor, Marco added. Women will be the death of that old fool, Nahor commented. Confucius say, Ching began. Len, you promised. Nahor interrupted him, thus avoiding having to listen to yet another saying of the great prophet. Sorry. Had a guy in there the other day called himself the prophet, Marco said, a smile edging onto his face. Oh, yes? What was his name? Ching fell into the trap, rebounding from the slight. Confusion, Marco said. He and Nahor burst out into laughter. Good one, good one. He high-fived Marco, then frowned, but again recovered. He was used to this. Confucius say, man who mocks another will die a pauper. Man who breaks promise will die young, Nahor said. There was no smile on Lin's face. Say, Marco, you know anything about that star out east? Yes, yes. Some Turk came in here the other day and said it was a comet. Says it will crash into the earth in about 6 weeks. Cannot be. It has no tail, and it has stayed in the same place for 2 weeks now. Ching shook his head. There's another guy in the next day who talked about a star, a Hebrew, called himself Benjamin. He had his little boy with him. Ben was his name too, come to think of it. Said he was from Hur, Cute little kid, but couldn't sit still. Anyway, the father said the star was a sign that a new king might set up his capital in Jerusalem. Said all the prophets had foretold it. An eastern star, he called it. Nahor and Ching looked at each other. Thanks, Nahor said. See you in the morning. Both men were travel weary, but they knocked on Abdullah's door anyway. They needed to work out a time to leave in the morning. Who is it? Abdullah asked. Me. Ab knew Nahor's voice. Come in, Ab said. A beautiful dark-haired woman was seated at the dressing table, combing her long hair. This is Farah, Ab introduced her. Nice to meet you, she said, turning to look at them. As she did so, her silk robe parted, fully exposing her left breast. Ching immediately bowed and closed his eyes tightly. Ab, what time tomorrow? Nahor asked, turning back in Ab's direction. Ching was still in the bowed position. The markets open at 9 sharp, breakfast at 7. Ab got up from the bed and put his arm around Farah in a proprietary manner. Good, see you then, Nahor said, tapping Ching on the shoulder. Ching, we can go now. Ching Lin turned and, with his eyes still closed, walked out of the room. He tripped over the door sill, but Nahor caught him. So sorry.